This is Abigail Pattman, and I would like to say that this podcast was recorded over a decade ago. I'm in a very different place now, but it's relevant to what I'm talking about on my other podcasts, and Matrix Exit, and how I got to Matrix Exit, and Holographic Matrix, and the following books: Dream Matrix, Sleep Matrix, and Awake Matrix. I would also like to say that Tony Sayers is nothing to do with me, and he never, ever will be. Any contact with Tony Sayers was over 6 years ago. Everything I've created is my work and my work only. This podcast might be disturbing for some people, so if you feel affected by it, then there are energy healing music tracks on my website you can listen to.
Tony here with another episode of Transcending Times, and I'm really excited about this one. We are going to go deep down into the rabbit hole on this interview today. I'm very fortunate and privileged to have a very special guest who I haven't actually known for that long, actually, just maybe 4 or 5 months now, but our paths have crossed, and I really value her friendship, and she is very inspiring, and she's got such an amazing story to tell on so many different fronts. So it's today I'm going to be interviewing Abigail Pattman, and she is over not too far away from me in Thailand on Koh Samui, which is nice, so I don't have to do these interviews in the early hours of the morning for a change. And yeah, she's got a remarkable story. She's now an energy alchemist helping people over in Thailand. And Abigail, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
Good. And no chemtrails over there today?
Yes, there's been chemtrails today in Thailand.
Really?
Yeah. And also, you know what? We've had a lot of typhoons, and Thailand was in drought last year really badly. And there's a rumour that, you know, these particular typhoons are bioengineered, sort of hovering around. So, I mean, it's happening everywhere, this crap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because, like I say, I'm not too far away from you in Cambodia, and we don't actually have chemtrails here, but the weather here as well has been very strange. I've been here a year now. Last January it was more or less sun every day, as you would expect in Southeast Asia, but it's cloudy almost every day, like overcast, and even the locals here are saying it's very unusual weather. And I almost thought that, you know, I kind of got away from all that shit by living here, but it seems that we might be getting some kind of aftermath of what's going on over where you are.
Totally. You know, I just don't really trust the weather that's happening. It doesn't feel... There's been storms before. I've been in Thailand on and off for 11 years, but these ones are very unusual. So knowing about HARP and all of that stuff, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was something going on. And I've been noticing more and more chemtrails in Thailand recently. Yeah,
it seems there's no escaping it, unfortunately. So, but we're going to move on to your story, basically. I mean, you have had one hell of a life, haven't you? In a nutshell, to put it lightly. It's a really remarkable story, and I just want to say, first of all, before we start going into it, how grateful I am for this interview, and just so admire your courage and your determination to speak about this, and to actually get to a place of some kind of acceptance, because when I spoke to you for the first time over Skype last week, and just such a bright, happy, really I felt that from you, and from your story it's remarkable. So we're going to find out about that. So if we want to start basically at the start then, Abby. So, where did it all begin, and what sort of happened which sort of led you right to where you are today?
It's such a long story. I mean, I would say that in a weird sort of way, it began when I left the UK. And the reason I say that is when I got to Thailand, that was when I started doing all the self-healing. So although it dates right back to my childhood, I didn't really start remembering stuff until I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. So I knew something was wrong with me, so I just go into my life. It was crazy. I mean, I was depressed. I had a personality disorder, which I didn't know about at the time, but I was self-harming. You name it, I took it. I was, self-medicating as well. And that really was my teenage years, my 20s. And I just knew something was wrong, really, really wrong, but I never knew what it was. I always thought something really bad had happened, but I could never get to the bottom of it, because the thing about trauma, when it's on a very, very large scale, is that it is so buried, and it's really, really buried in you until you're ready to deal with it. And I wasn't ready to deal with it until I was well away from the UK. And even then it was a few years into me living in Thailand that the weird, freaky stuff started to happen. Mm-hmm. So, and really what we're talking about was repressed memories. So I started to work with energy, and then this is when all of this kicked up. It began with tarot readings, and then I realized I had a gift with energy, and I began to look into other things like soul retrieval, and I started doing a few courses, and then it was like I was attacked, and I can't even explain what these attacks were like. First of all, I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was that I was not sleeping, I was having nightmares, and I probably had nightmares all my life, but these got faster, and it was just so dark. I mean, at one point I remember sitting with another mystic who just took one look, and they started talking to me about black magic and all sorts of freaky stuff like that, and I'm looking at them like they're completely bonkers. And yeah, I didn't have a clue what they were talking about, and things started to come back. I started to remember that when my dad was dying of cancer, I nursed him through it, by the way, because I didn't have any of these memories, and so it's a very strange story. I nursed him through terminal cancer, and he would talk about Aleister Crowley and eating babies.
What, when he was?
He had cancer on the brain. He had a tumour on the brain. He wasn't really in control, and being doing the whole usual cancer kind of thing with the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy and the antidepressants and all the other shit they put him on. He wasn't really in control of his words. So my stepmom would be yelling at him to shut up, and I'd be looking at my sister and we'd be laughing like, what planet is he on? But he always had a thing about Aleister Crowley. And he also, I remember as a teenager, used to tell me I was protected and that these dark entities liked me. I was talking about a haunting and an experience I had with my friend. And he wouldn't explain why, so I had no idea. But he was always into this side of things. And the other thing that was really about his personality was that he could be one of the softest, sweetest, most gentle men on the planet, but then he would turn, and we're talking Jekyll and Hyde turn. So we were absolutely terrified of him as children, terrified, because when he turned dark, he was evil. And it was the kind of evil that was like acid, like energetic acid, that you were scared to speak, you were scared to do anything, you knew you'd get in trouble. He played mind games, and he got joy out of it. And so did my stepmom. She was also, we had to tolerate her for my entire childhood as well. So they were like probably the most sarcastic, cynical, cutting people you could imagine. And I'm not going to go into too much else of what went on there. But looking back, I had a very on-off relationship with him. And, you know, I was very confused at first when I began to work with the energy and these attacks started to happen. Probably around about the age of 33.
They're like psychic attacks almost.
They were really, it was like a horror movie.
Right.
Okay,
like flashbacks.
The flashbacks there were no details at first. They were pure emotions of fear. Okay, so what you're talking about is emotions that hit me so hard. You can call it post-traumatic stress disorder if you want. But I would get hit so hard that what would happen, my hair started to fall out. My body stopped digesting food. I mean, I was a stick insect. I couldn't sleep at night. I was hearing voices. And I was actually having dreams where I was being molested and held down, and I mean, it was like watching a movie, you know. It's almost so unreal. It's like watching a movie where someone's being possessed or chased.
So they just hit you at around about this point then, when you went to Thailand.
A couple of years into, as soon as I discovered my abilities, because I was always, like, I hate using the word psychic, so I say intuitive. I was always extremely intuitive. And, you know, people always came to me for things. I could read palms and read cards, and they couldn't really explain this gift. And I just kind of joked around with it and played with it. But when I got into Thailand and I started to I learned the tarot in Australia, actually, but I started to work with the tarot, and it was amazing. And I discovered that I didn't know what to do with my entire life, but suddenly I did, because this was what I did and this was what I was good at. And from then it just kept expanding, and it actually began to happen when I mean, that's another story in its own, but it began to happen when people started to see me for energy healings, because I would sit there with people and ask for soul retrievals, and I didn't even know what it was. It came from a tarot workshop. One woman went to go and get her soul retrieved. Another woman in the workshop told me she was scared to read the tarot, and I said, well, let's just see if we can do this. And I sat with her, and she kind of went into this kind of state where I asked for a soul retrieval that this other lady had, and all of a sudden I realized that I was working with energy and things were happening with people. People started to turn up on my doorstep. I had one person come. The first 3 times I worked with people were the most profound. Someone came to me with Lyme's disease, and it was pulled out of his body. He didn't have it afterwards.
Wow.
So that scared me, so I ran away to Bali.
Why do human beings do this, don't we? We run away from our own power. I mean, we all do it.
I was petrified.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a queue of people waiting for me, and I didn't know what I was doing. So in Bali was where the first inklings of something being wrong came up, and I started to feel that things were wrong. I started to learn something called theta healing, and that's really based on clearing limited beliefs, learning about your abilities. It was very good for me to learn that. But one of the things that I would say for me is that we don't have to go up and out to receive any information. For me, you know, source connection is within. And theta healing talks about going up and out to creator. But I was really, really lucky. I had an amazing teacher, and what she used to say to me, and our workshop was, although she taught it the way it was supposed to be taught, she used to say to us, I believe that we're going within. Your connection is within. And so I was a natural, and, you know, I just took to it very, very fast. But as I took to it, then all these other things started to happen to me. And in the end, when I think about it, I was probably self-medicating for most of my life, so I wasn't feeling those things. I had nightmares all of my life, but it just amped up. And these attacks started to happen. And then I knew there was something wrong, and I knew it was something to do with black magic. You know, we can fast forward through a whole bunch of years where I was exploring and trying to deal with this crazy that was going on in my life, and doing a whole bunch of different healing. And I ended up in Australia again, and I'll always really, really thank this guy, but I ended up doing something called Holographic Kinetics with a guy called Steve Richards, who was all about working with spirit and removing different kinds of entities. So then I began to get into the draconian reptilian realm, and the fact that we're on a satanic planet, and without, it's such a long story that I'm just giving you the nutshell of it.
That's okay. We have as much time as you need, so you get out what you want to get out, and the interview goes for as long as it goes.
Okay.
It needs to go.
So
depending on how much time you have.
Okay, all right, perfect. Well, every time I ended up somewhere and I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, it's the story of my life. I would probably say that my ego didn't know what it was doing, but that I was driven by my spirit. So I knew I had to leave the UK. I didn't know where I was going, but I ended up in Thailand. It was exactly where I was supposed to be. I just followed the fact that I needed to leave the UK. And it was the same when I ended up in Bali, which gave me like 2 years, maybe, of very intensive theta healing. And that would have been really fine-tuning my abilities. And then, a year or two later, the attacks, losing my hair, all of this kind of stuff. I had to shave my head. I hated that. And I ended up in Australia not knowing what I was doing again, but knew that I had to be in Australia. And as it flowed, I ended up at a kind of like fair where I was reading tarot. And, my life is very mystical. I mean, there was this girl, I don't even know her anymore, but she probably was such a blessing to me. I mean, she turned around and said to me, look, there's something wrong with you, and I want to give you this book, because I put it in my bag because I knew I needed to give someone this, and can you give it back to me next week? So I spent a whole day reading about demonic possession.
Wow. I bet that was great when you got that home and you opened that and started reading that. Thanks a lot.
Oh my God, it was so fucked up. Because I'm like, I'm having these dreams, I'm having these nightmares, I'm shaking all the time. I mean, it was crazy. And, pre then, I had all these kind of experiences in India, where I was attacked with black magic. I mean, my whole life was really around being attacked. One way or another, it was always being attacked. So now here I am in Australia with this book, and, the next week I give it back to her and I just say to her, I'm possessed. I need to see someone. Do you know someone? Now, I'd already been reading as well, Stuart Wilde. I'm not sure which book it was, but he'd written a book he's great. He'd written a book about entities and possession and stuff. And, David Icke I've been listening to. So I was already beginning to really get into this path. But the fact that it was happening to me, I was deteriorating and feeling like I was going crazy. Now, from that, the girl gave me a number. And I called them, and they told me that they had given up removing energies and entities and all of this stuff. And I begged them. I mean, I was like, look, I'm in Australia. You are the only people I know, and you know how to do this, and I need you. And of course, bless them, they literally said, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. And as fate would have it, or there's no fate, I mean, there's no, coincidences in life, really. Sure. It's all preordained in a funny sort of way, or we're following our instincts. They actually lived about an hour's drive away from the family, my cousins and my aunt that I was staying with in Australia. So they drove me down there.
How funny, such a huge country as well. It's like massive. An hour down the road. Like, if anyone thinks that things happen by fate.
An hour and a half. There I was. And it was absolutely incredible. I mean, they pulled something out of me that was enormous. I felt it leaving me, and it was actually painful having this thing wrenched out of my body. It was in my body from 14 years old, this particular one. which I'll go into at another point. It was in my body from 14 years old, and it had merged with my emotional body. Okay. Right. Now, in what I learnt with the holographic kinetics, that's a 2nd degree takeover. Okay. It could not be spotted in theta healing. I had just done years. You know, they could pull off outside things, but it had not been spotted. And so I was literally on my knees after that. I mean, I couldn't believe that, you know, that night I slept without any nightmares, and I woke up the next day and my iPod was on shuffle, and the first song that came on was the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun.
Wow. Oh my God, that just sent a shiver right up my spine, that did.
It was incredible. You know, I listened to this song.
It's funny, isn't it? Funny. I remember just going off topic a little bit, just to lighten it up a bit. I didn't really know where I was going last year when I left the UK, and I ended up in Cambodia, and I was kind of like, where am I going to go? Am I going to go somewhere? And I was really confused in my head. And then when I felt quite good in Cambodia, and then I went down for breakfast one day, and there was that song "Take Me Home, Country Road" come on, just as I was thinking about where I should be living. And it's like, right, I'm supposed to be here at the moment, so it's always giving us clues if we're open to them, right? If
we're open to them, yes. I mean, I followed the clues more than anything else, and this is what took me through all of everything to today. I mean, I kind of disregarded normal life a long time ago. I had some spiritual awakenings when I was younger, and I didn't know what they were. Actually, I had no idea. I just called them weird things. I know what they are now. But after these kind of moments, then I knew that I had to change something or go somewhere or do something. And I just began to follow that feeling. And that's the feeling that took me to Australia. And, you know, right to these people that gave me this amazing, amazing healing, to which I turned around and said to them, how do you know this? I have to learn it. And they turned around and said, well, we learnt it with Steve Richards. It's called Holographic Kinetics using Aborigine Dreamtime Healing. And he's just down the road.
Wow.
To which I phoned him up and I said to him, I need to see you. When's your next course? And I said to him, I'm leaving on this date because my visa's up. Do you have time to see me? And he actually changed his courses for me so I could do it before the visa ran out. Yeah.
Amazing.
And he was very, you know, oh, your spirit sent me to you, and, you know, and you have to do this, and you know, rearranged it for me. And so within maybe 1 or 2 weeks of that healing session, I was doing holographic kinetics. Now, before the holographic kinetics, I was being attacked so bad. It was getting to the point where it's every single night. And it was getting to the point where I was having a nightmare and there'd be something coming towards me. And it might start, I just remember a particular one where it'd be like this happy little dog bouncing around. And then it started to get closer and closer and closer. And obviously all the energy changed around it, and I'd just wake up before it got me. So I was getting to a point where I was so sensitive to these dreams of attack that I was waking up before them.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I get
shows
really
how they
angry.
mask themselves as well.
They're fuckers. I mean, I get really angry.
Devious, aren't they?
Yeah. But I would wake up the next morning with no power, no energy. So I'd be like crying in the morning, and then I'd start feeling a bit stronger, and then I still didn't know what was happening or why this was happening. But I set this intention, and I was like, you know what? I'm going after you guys. I'm going to do this course, and I'm going after you guys. How dare you? Right? And next minute I'd be crying my eyes out. Oh my God, you know. I mean, it was really the most, like, you know, it was so scary, and yet I was kind of, you know, maybe running on anger as well at this, because I just couldn't believe it. It was just so weird. So the first time that something really big happened was during, I had some people practicing on me in one of the holographic kinetic sessions, and I dropped into a ritual.
Right, okay. What, like a satanic ritual?
I was tied up and I was on a table, and there was, it was so scary I couldn't stay in it.
Right.
It was like I was just dive bombed by all of this darkness and
Wow.
people around me, and there was just energies on me. I mean, I was so infested with these things. If you can imagine the Russian dolls that unclip, and there's one doll inside the other.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're like with energy bodies surrounding us, for me, when I work on people. So what had actually happened to me was my energy fields had been completely and utterly blasted wide open. I was just a free-for-all for anything that wanted to jump on me. And being an empath as well, I was just soaking up negativity like a sponge. So I was just practically walking around in trauma all of the time. So when this actual event happened, I tried to leave my body. At 1 minute I'm screaming. No one knows what to do because it's just erupted out of nowhere.
So all the people were around you while this was going on?
Yeah, they're just trying to do a little, thing that they've just been taught on course 1
Yeah.
or 2,
And then you rock up.
and I drop into this bloody great big demonic kind of like thing. And Steve Richards came over just as I said, fuck this, I'm leaving. And I literally started to pass out. And
Right.
the way he works is, it's so funny for me. Theta healing is like very feminine, soft, beautiful energy, and then you've got holographic kinetics. It can't be more masculine energy if you try. Next thing I know, I've got 2 fingers shoved on my third eye, and I've got come back into your body now. And the reason I'm explaining this like that is the whole purpose of satanic ritual abuse is to get you to disassociate and leave your body so they can create you the way they want to create you. So, yeah.
Yeah, they shut off parts of the mind, don't they?
Absolutely.
That kind of thing. For people that aren't aware, I mean,
Yeah.
they divide the mind up so you have different personalities and
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. That was all part of your makeup at the time, was it?
That was all part of my makeup, although it gets a little bit more involved. But yeah, I'll explain that in a bit because it's so crafty. It's really, really crafty. So, I brought up the sort of disassociation, but I'll go into it in a little bit because I didn't realize that was what it was. But it was very, very strange what happened because he worked on me. He pulled a bunch of them off me. I came through it. I'm in shock. I can't move. I'm outside. And he just takes one look at me. He says, go on, in you go. Work on someone. And I'm like in trauma and shock like you wouldn't believe, okay? I've got still I'm numb. The fear in me was so extreme that I'm completely numb. I can't even explain the fear that this is installed in you. And I remember standing there over someone like a zombie. And he's just looking at me, and he was very, very present, and he's just looking at me and repeating what I need to do.
Right.
Until I suddenly clicked back on, and I felt that energy of presence, and I was able to continue working on people that day.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know how he did it, because I can tell you right now that when it got into the later healing, there was no way I was capable of that. But somehow he did it. And that was the beginning. Well, I mean, it had been building up, but that was one of where it started in a way where I actually began to drop into the rituals and that kind of level of trauma. So, I went back from Australia, I went home and I spent a good 2 years practicing holographic kinetics and going after every single thing I could on people.
So were you healing yourself at the time as well?
Oh yes, I never stopped healing myself because when things came up, it's for me what would come up would be too painful to operate on. I had to heal myself. It wasn't like I could just go, I feel shit today, I won't do anything about it, I'll feel okay tomorrow. It was like being taken over by a tsunami. So, I'd be in so much trauma, and I was really, really lucky. I had the most amazing support network. And the first the first period of a lot of my healing was around a lot of mystics. And, you know, like I said, I was lucky. I just had the right people around me. And so what I really did for the first few years was healing my outer energy bodies and clearing myself of these things. And, you know, I would go in shifts with it. The nightmares never stopped, but I got used to them and I got better at clearing them. But you know, it took me such a long time to get to where I am now. It's unbelievable. I mean, that maybe happened nearly 10 years ago. I was in Australia. So we're talking about a really large journey. For 2 or 3 years, I was like Buffy. I mean, I was so angry. I was going after everything. So that probably wasn't very helpful. So it was like me and these energies, me against the world. And
but I guess that anger, it drove you into action to heal, you know, in some ways, maybe? Or you think you were just...
Definitely. And it also helped a lot of other people. But what started to happen was I started to get really darkly and deeply possessed people. People started flying over from different places in the world. And, you know, I didn't want to get known for that. I didn't want to just be working on that. I wanted to work with, for me, aligning people, balancing people, and taking these things off as part of the whole thing, rather than just dealing with possessed people. I mean, it started to get really a little bit dangerous. Yeah. And, yeah. You know, I didn't really want to... I actually began to stop when a guy turned up that was so dark. It was obvious that there was nothing I could do for him. And then, you know, one of my friends who's a very, very amazing energy healer, he just turned around and said to me, "Don't go near that guy. You're not going to be safe with him on your own." And I already knew it, you know. Wow. And, yeah...
I think this is really important to understand, isn't it? You know, we're not. I was doing an interview the other day, and I think so many people are aware of the physical manipulation of what's going on in terms of the corruption, the politics, the constant wars, all the physical stuff. But unless you take it to that next level and open your mind to the fact that we live in an infinite universe and we can only see a fraction of what they call visible light, so there's all this other stuff going on beyond what we can see. We're almost blind. Unless we start going down those rabbit holes, then, you know, we're still blind to what's really going on. So I feel like the last few years have been all about exposing the physical conspiracy, or it's not even a conspiracy, but I feel like the whole thing in general now has to start going deeper and getting to the source of what is really behind this manipulation.
Absolutely. Totally. I totally agree, because, you know, for me, I didn't have a choice. And, you know, I used to look at David Icke and find it quite, you know, he was one of the first ones to start talking about this stuff, wasn't he? And of course, everyone was calling him out for being mad, and he's still around. So good old David Icke. But
brilliant.
It still seemed really fantastical to me. I mean, we're brought up in a mundane world where what you see is real, and if you can't see the invisible, it's not real. And, you know, I've been haunted as a kid. I mean, I had so many stories of spirits and dark entities and all sorts of things going on that I didn't actually live in the mundane world. I mean, I tried to run away from it. You know, I was self-medicating hugely. But I was actually firmly, you know, I do believe that my dad had very strong, you know, mystic abilities, and, you know, that it was passed down to me, regardless of what he used his for. There's also Irish Gypsy in my family, so you can imagine. Wow. From his side. So, you know, it was there, and it was part of me. I was, you know, it's difficult to use the word channeling when everyone starts thinking of these strange aliens and stuff, but I was definitely what you would call a source channel. You know, I could say things that were very pure and you know, of whether it came within, because I know there's a lot of controversy around that word, but there'd be times that I just knew stuff and there was no explanation, and I would just be telling people things directly. You know, it'd be ridiculous. I remember being very young and turning around and looking my boyfriend at the time in the eye, and it came out of my mouth before I even knew what I said. And I said to him, "You were at that party last week and you slept with my friend, blah, blah, blah." Oh, wow. Okay, and his face dissolved into pure shock. And so did mine. I was like, where did that come from? So, you know, wow. I was always very witchy, and you know, they even, when I, you know, very ironically, as a teenager, I was nicknamed Devil's Daughter.
Well, you obviously had a special role to fulfill by the looks of it. And,
yeah.
So you were having all these psychic attacks.
Absolutely, and then, I dealt with them for years, and you know, and I did lots of years of healing, and you know, this is why I have a little bit of an issue with New Age. I think everyone knows on my Facebook page.
Don't even get me started.
So New Age didn't work, guys. It didn't.
Just ignore everything and it'll all go away.
Okay, so
just have a gong bath.
So I tried to do what everyone said. I tried to accept. I tried to surrender. I tried not to label things. I tried to stay out of the fucking story. You know, I tried all of that shit. None of it worked. I was still getting attacked, and I was still working on myself like crazy. And I was working on other people as well. And I realized that, you know, yes, there's amazing things in, you know, like yoga can build chi just like martial arts can, you know, and working on centering, and if meditation also, I mean, amazing things, but all of these phrases and crap we're told. So, you know, if we fast forward a little bit, so let's just say I was trying to avoid the story for a few years.
As you would.
And not label anything. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that, and we can fast forward on to the fact that, you know, I got hit with what you would call the most enormous crisis ever, and it was maybe it was over 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5 years ago or something, and I just got hit. I lost every single piece of savings that I had in one go. Right. At the same time, I broke up with a long-term relationship that you know was probably not, well, it wasn't very good for me at all, but but still, you know, that was another big thing. There were a few huge things that happened at once, but the biggest thing that happened was losing that money. I had always said to myself, as long as I have money, I'm safe, and that belief system was just ripped apart, and then I had no one to talk to. And I went down into now what I would call one of the most massive post-traumatic stress disorders or dissociations you can imagine. Now, I have been doing this all of my life, but this one was to the point where I wasn't sleeping. I was chain smoking cigarettes. I was stuck on my porch. I couldn't move. You know, I just went into something you wouldn't even believe. And you know what? I was like desperate, because I knew that I was going to try and kill myself. Now, this had happened at various different points when the memories were coming back anyway. You know, there was one point, and it's a God saying this is kind of like really horrible, but there was one point that I went out. It's okay. There was one point that I went out, and it was quite a few years ago. It's when the memories first started to come back. And I got blind drunk because I wanted to forget everything and I was feeling crap. I got home and I had a knife in one hand and I was slashing my foot, and I had the phone in the other hand, and I was calling all the people I knew. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning to come and help me because I could not stop cutting myself. Oh, wow. And I had voices telling me to do it. So obviously, like opening up my energy field, and I know what you think about alcohol.
Well, you know, I'm no angel. I mean, I used to drink it as well. I'm like everyone else. I've just come to realise what it is. Yeah. Like you know, so. Yeah. You know, I've been drunk as a skunk many a time. So. Me too. And you know, I realise with my energy that I have to be very careful.
with what I do with myself. I can't, you know, even if I smoke pot, I get paranoid. So I turn into some paranoid neurotic mess. So, you know, anyway, so there were times that it was mechanical. This cutting was mechanical. So the cutting came back. It came back at different points in my life, but it was always almost like I didn't have control over my arm. It was like being almost a zombie and having to,
like a possession almost.
Almost, yeah. It was numb. It was like being a zombie. And I remember just people, you know, a friend coming around and having to take this knife out of my hand and clean me up and just stick a Valium in my mouth and pass me out. You know, I was in so much trauma. So this, I was getting to that state, sat on my porch, and I actually decided to look at the story. You know, and this is why I have a big thing with New Age. It is so much crap. You know, if you don't have something to go on, how can you heal yourself? It's that simple. So this staying out of the story doesn't mean you have to live in it every single day, every single minute, but you need to have something to go on. And I looked up satanic ritual abuse. I mean, by that time I knew it had happened. You know, lots of things had happened. And had you had the flashbacks to when you were a child by that point? I hadn't clear flashbacks. I had to do that in therapy later. And because I was so young, it's, you know, it's like a dream state when you're in it, but I was not capable. You see, I was so fragmented. I was not capable of staying in my center and doing that. What would happen is, the thing about a personality disorder like dissociation personality disorder, which is what they actually do, this is the aim. Some people go into multi-personality disorder as well, which is even worse. But I was severely dissociation. The aim of can you just explain a little bit what that is for people that may not have heard of what that is? Yeah, well, in terms of the I'm just about to get to it. So this is when I discovered it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to explain it really well in a minute. But I just wanted to hit the point with the New Age and how, you know, sometimes you need something to go on. Duh. Sure. You know? Sure. And so anyway, maybe I would have saved myself a few years. So, you know, and they all want so much money as well, don't they? I was on Facebook the other day, and it was like you know, $600 for a day's meditation or something. I mean, that whole movement stinks to the core. I'm well, you know what I feel about it, and you know, never get angry about anything, just accept all the bullshit that's going on in the world. Well, you know, that's exactly why we're in such a mess, is because we constantly accepting bullshit all the time. Absolutely. So, shovel your emotions down in your body and repress them. You know, what's going to happen one day is they'll manifest as an illness in your body. That's what's going to happen. You can't escape from energy. Like, emotions is energy in motion. We need to deal with them. It's like your body saying, hello, can you heal me? And then New Age just keeps pushing it back in. It does. I'm totally with you. It does. So, you know, there I am on my porch and I know that I'm going to kill myself. I know it. And there's just the reason that I didn't kill myself, I think I mentioned this to you before, was because I refused to come back down to this earth and do this all over again. It's not because I didn't want to leave the planet, okay? I would be very happy to leave this planet at times. It sucks. You know? Yeah, it's difficult. But I just did not want to go through this again. And also, you know, the emotions you can pass through with suicide. You know, I knew too much by that point with what I did with energy. So there I am, and I'm on the internet, and I start looking for how to deal with satanic ritual abuse. And that's when I read about dissociation personality disorder. And it just hit me in the face. It was like I'd been slapped in the face. And I read about what happens to satanic ritual kids and how it works and how they disassociate you. So in my case, I was traumatized and scared. This is to the point where you disassociate, so it's a bit like you pass out. You can't handle anymore. You just want to leave your body. It's so fucking scary. You know, like people in hoods with knives and blood and what they do to animals and other children. It's beyond anything you can imagine. And so a child cannot, you can't comprehend that. Your mind cannot deal with that. So what your mind does is it puts it in a little box. Okay, it shoves it all in a little box, and then you're in this space, an empty space, where a personality comes in to protect you.
Wow.
Now, some of the personalities I had created, and some of them they had created. Because one of the next things that they would do was, once I came around from it, is they would comfort me. So I began to learn that sexual energy and fear were the same and went together. So they begin, and this is this slave way that they deal with things. They make you submit. Okay, so you become one of the personalities was to be very submissive, because you're trying to avoid more pain. So you become submissive and you become compliant. So that was one of the personalities. Another one was that if the memories came back, I had to kill myself. And as the rituals were with knives, the way I wanted to kill myself was always with a knife. That was how I was going to kill myself. And of course, they were always cutting things, you know, sacrificing animals and things, you know. So I mean, it was just sick. So some of these personalities were created by them, like a suicide personality. I've worked with them all now. I know them all, and some of them have gone, and you know, there's my natural ones, which are more like archetypes now. But dissociation personality disorder is every piece of trauma. You can imagine more and more what I call protectors, which is the personalities, kind of guarding the traumatized children that are behind it. So I was like a nest of traumatized children surrounded by a gang of what you would call protectors to stop the children from feeling pain. So very, very fragmented and disassociated. And
wow.
You know, as you know, if you've gone into this thing, there's also trigger words that can trigger things off. And in my case, what was normally triggering me was abandonment. Because I had so many abandonment wounds, it was ridiculous. So abandonment, I was attracting emotionally unavailable men. Also, there was a lot of narcissists around me, sociopaths. And also, something in me was also attracting amazing people, because, like I said, I was very supported also. But, you know, my personal life, my emotional life was a disaster. So, yeah. So once I saw the dissociation personality disorder and read about it, I didn't know as much as I've just told you, but I knew it was me. And then I was like, I need a fucking psychologist. I can't do this anymore. As a mystic, you know, there's a divide between people that work with energy and people that work with the mind. Okay. Sure. Now it's closing. I know some great psychologists. It's closing, but there was a little disregarding of that side of things. But what I did was I messaged, it was actually my ex-boyfriend's friend who I knew was a psychologist, and I just put it in about 2 or 3 sentences. I said, satanic ritual abuse, dissociation personality disorder, severely triggered, I feel like I'm going to kill myself. I need help now. Do you know anyone? And she was online at the time. She happened to be in Bali, so it was very, very auspicious. And within 30 minutes, she found me a lady. Wow. You know, again, like I said, it was so auspicious.
Synchromystical.
Synchromystical, that's a good word for it. And not only did she find someone, but this lady happened to be on the island next to me.
Just shows, though, when you really want something, you really want to heal, or you really set your mind, that things outside of yourself come to your aid, right?
Yeah, Yeah, very much
That's
so.
what I've experienced in my own life as well.
Very much so.
Especially if you're walking in the path of truth, I think.
Yes.
I mean, for me, simply, it's just natural law. You know, if you're aligning with truth, then you kind of get help from the universe. And I guess that's what was going on with that mainly.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like my path has been like so difficult, but at the same time, it's, you know, when I look back and see how things fell into place, it's almost like a jigsaw. I had to do the work. I mean, this is what I always say to people: you can't escape your shadow. You know, I'm not responsible for what happened in my childhood, but I'm carrying this and I have to heal it. You know, I'm not happy about it. I feel like I'm jumping around for joy with it. But, you know, we are responsible for the pain we are carrying, because otherwise we will, you know, push it out on everyone else around us.
Yeah,
and, exactly. You know, I just wanted a normal life. All I wanted to do was be happy. I don't care about being enlightened and all of that crap. You know, I just wanted to be happy and these nightmares to go away. Just
wanted to have a night's sleep without demons appearing in them.
Yeah, that would have been nice as well. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore.
Good.
So, but it took a lot to heal it. You know, it was like I had so many like open. You can call them contracts if you want, but I was like I said, I was like an open like space for things to just jump on, you know,
like a magnet for negative entities.
Shit magnet.
A walking shit magnet.
It sucked.
You got a great job this incarnation, Abby.
Yeah, well, that's what I call myself, really. I mean, you know, like energy alchemist sounds really nice, but I'm just a massive shit shifter. That's all I do.
Well, that's what I say.
You know?
That's what I say. You know, I say that we're clearing out the gutters of humanity. We're shoveling out shit. You know, of all the lies, of all that. That's what we're doing. We're like road sweepers.
Yeah.
But worse.
Yeah. And mine's.
There wants to be some rewards at the end of this. I tell you, especially for you after what you've gone through.
I've told the universe that. I've told the source that. You know, I'm like, fuck this.
I've had similar conversations. You got to laugh at it, though. I mean, you know, I think, you know, just having you on here and being able to, I mean, look at the subject we're talking about, and we can kind of point fun at it, but I know it wasn't always fun for you, but you know, it just shows how far that you've come, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a strange kind of feeling to be where I am now and to look back at it. I mean, I'm writing a book at it. When I write this book, it's like this kind of like, I'm like, are people even going to believe this? I mean, I've been, you know, the stories that have happened, the things I've seen. I mean, like I said, I've not lived in the real world in a way. So, you know, I write stuff and I'm like, wow, and that happened. I mean, I'm a walking coincidence, synchronicity person. So people, you know, but moving on to, you know, this is when I started the really intense therapy, because it's almost like, you know, that whole analogy that your healing is like an onion and you're going through layers.
Sure. Well,
you know, I'd been doing all of the outer layers because I wasn't emotionally ready to do the inner layers. The inner layers were just absolutely horrendous. So, you know, all of those years, I was still shifting shit. But I never got to the core until, you know, I found this particular therapist. And I was very lucky with her because not only was she a trained psychologist, but she's also, I was very familiar with some of her techniques because she worked with something called family constellations, which I'd done a lot of already, clearing my ancestry line, and Gestalt as well. So she had this whole energy side to her, and she'd also worked with Satanic ritual before, so she knew about it. And within that phone call I had within an hour of this, you know, few days of not sleeping and not eating and you know, this awful space, she was the one that said to me, when did it happen? In the 70s? Okay, there was a lot of them then, and you know, I can see you tomorrow and blah blah blah. And it was like I'd just been given a lifeline. And from that, I can honestly say that the next 2 years, there were times where I didn't leave my porch for weeks, maybe to get food. I didn't speak to anyone. I mean, I was in this kind of hell that I can't even explain, because the emotions underneath the trauma were absolutely enormous. So when I started to work properly with those child fragments and what they'd been through, it was her mission to teach me how to hold space for myself without these personalities jumping in.
Right. So it's almost like you were, where they would naturally sort of jump out to protect you, you kind of almost told them to just sit down while you, in your mind, while these emotions wash over you and you see the reality of what happened.
You tried
almost.
to. It was I mean, at first they were just jumping in like everywhere, But what she would do really was, it's a bit, in a way, it's a bit like, I don't know if you've ever done a meditation or a Vipassana where you've got to hold that space as emotions arise. It's one of these meditation techniques. There's no way I could have done that. You can't do post-traumatic stress disorder, and disassociation takes over. So, but really she's teaching you to be the master of your own ship. That was her words, okay? Instead of all the cabin guys and all of the others jumping in. So at first, even trying to hold a space without trauma coming up or something or someone jumping in. I mean, I started to learn all my protectors. I started, that I've got a whole gang that run together, like a whole tribe. And one of them's a joker, surprise, surprise. So, I learned so many different ways of taking care of myself. At school, they wanted me to be an actress. They said I was absolutely fantastic. I would have been really great. So you can, and you imagine now, bringing that up, if you look at the mind control and what's going on in the music industry and with a lot of the actresses, because you are able to be anything you want to be. You can jump into anything. And I was so versatile. So, but what...
just to jump in there, did they plan your personalities then? Or so you're saying that you created some of them, but they created others?
Definitely. It was very extraordinary for me. Before I did the therapy and remembered the memories myself, I went to see another woman that was absolutely incredible, and she knew nothing about satanic worship. She knew nothing about it. And she was working on me, and she literally said to me, I can't allow you to feel this. I'm going to feel this. And then she sat me down and said, listen, I have to explain something to you. And I hadn't told her anything. She said, you were in this ring, you were tied up, you were then passed around afterwards sexually around these adults. She said it was absolutely disgusting. She said one of them was really, really poisonous, and they had something planned for you. She said, and it wasn't just, it was your father, and it was also your grandfather. And then I explained to her what had happened to me. So, yeah. And I had a few things with her where she was clearing energy from me. But it wasn't until I worked with a leaker that I began to really go directly and deeply into what happened. And last year I went back to the UK and I actually reported it to the police.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
Yeah, and she's willing to testify in court. So, if anyone's wondering on the credibility of the mystics I saw, I'm just bringing in that there was a trained psychologist here, and the last 9 to 11 years were no joke. It's just, it's like I said to people, how could I even make this up?
Yeah, of course. And what was when you went back to the UK and you spoke to the police, what was their response, and what have they had any sort of further contact with you about this? Because for anyone that doesn't know, we know there's a big cover up within the police, the judicial system. This satanic abuse is being massively covered up, not only just in the UK but around the world. And I just wonder how they reacted and what the response has been.
Actually, I actually recorded it. It's very
brilliant.
boring though, but I actually recorded it. It was a really young girl. She was ever so sweet. She had no idea what I was talking about. She asked me to write it down. I took it to someone, and then someone peered at me, and then kind of, you know, hid. And then and obviously it's what's called a historic crime. Now my dad's dead as well, and so is my grandfather. You know, so basically the only person that's alive that could really bring any light to this is my stepmother. She knows. I remember her screaming at my dad to shut up when he was talking about Crowley. My brother also found a Freemasons logbook in my dad's garage after he died, you know, and they were into this stuff. So this was all like secret societies and stuff like that. It's so hush that, you know, the police had nothing to go on with me. It was up to me if I wanted to work with a solicitor and pursue it further. I had to report it first, but that would mean moving back to the UK. And moving back to the UK for what? You know? So I would rather do it this way.
Yeah, I think the main thing is getting the word out, raising awareness, isn't it? And you know, at the same time you have to be a little bit careful as well. So, you know, where you are. But it's just a really sad reflection on the world that, you know, something as serious and horrific as this that is going on probably daily somewhere. That you go into a police station and the girl doesn't even know what it is. You know, this should be they should be all over this.
No, they had no idea what to do. No idea. They were very good with me though, so, you know, I will say that. And they did take it seriously, and they did, like, I have got my report card, and I did it really, you know, it was my sister that said to me, why don't you do it? She said, because then if anyone comes forward, you can pursue this. Okay, so no one's come forward as far as I know right now. But if they do, then, you know, I'll pursue it further. So, you know, I'm not happy about it. So, you know, and also with the therapy, I mean, finally, it took me a year to be able to even go into the first ritual. It took me a year. And I was seeing her maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And, you know, another thing that really pissed me off is I was lucky. I had I was very, you know, people were funding my therapy for me so that I could do this. And that was my brother, and also, you know, an ex-boyfriend of mine from a few years back, long time before I left the UK, who's absolutely incredible. So I was funded through this. And then as life would have it, my nan from that side of the family passed away, and I got inheritance money back, and I could pay them back.
Excellent.
Okay, and so what I lost, I got back. Which was, you know, the joke of the universe, you know. It's almost the lesson was almost like, right, you can't rely on money because it's fake anyway. So I'm going to take it away, so you learn that lesson, and then you can have it back. So you learn to be safe without all of this outside stuff. You know, that's what cracked me and broke me open, really, because I always worked out from a very young age, if I had money, I could get away from all of this crap. You know, that was my thing. So losing the money was the biggest thing for me. And, you know, I was really angry. I was furious. You know, like I've spent more money on therapy and healings than anything you can imagine. It's ridiculous. So, you know, I call it compensation, not inheritance.
Absolutely.
But it took me a year to go into the ritual. And again, you know, this staying out of the story concept, this don't label yourself. If I didn't know about post-traumatic stress disorder, if I didn't know about dissociation personality disorder, satanic ritual abuse, I would, you know, I had to go into the story. And, you know, what I really found by doing that was, you know, that they baptized me into Satanism. I was baptized. Wow. You know, God. I mean, undoing that ritual in a therapy session was beyond, you know, again, it's like a fantastical story. I was being attacked so badly that the phone went dead. There was a storm, it started pouring with rain. that my therapist was being attacked. She could feel that energy, and that's what brought me to what. There's a storm starting now.
Wow! I just heard a bolt of thunder.
Yeah.
A bolt of thunder.
Yeah.
A clap of thunder.
yeah. It's just started. You know, it doesn't really bother me. It's not like anything to worry about. But that's what was happening through the session. It's so funny. I get confirmation.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like the wink, isn't it? It's the wink of the universe. It's like the universe having a joke with you. It's like remember that thunder when you went through that. Well, this is the thunder now.
Yeah.
To say, you know, well done for coming out and speaking about.
Yeah, the storm energy for me. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done Mayan signs, but I'm actually what's called a storm. So for me, the storm energy was actually like very helpful, but not the phone going out and all the other drama that happened with it. But by that time, I'd really got familiar with what I call my protectors, and it you know, again, it's a story. I have to blog about it one day. But I went in not just with me from Source and my spirit, but I went in with a whole bunch of protectors, and we literally had to undo that child from that ritual. And I had to, and the biggest thing that was causing the so much pain was what's called was sorry, I'm just closing doors so this rain doesn't go crazy.
I'll probably get that in a minute, that rain.
Yeah, I had an inverted cross placed over my womb.
Over your womb?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I was tied up, and lots of symbols in blood, animal sacrificing. I was baptized into Satanism, drinking blood. You know, like the stuff that I had to go through therapy and clear. It was like I felt so dirty inside. One of the reasons I was self-harming was actually to take this dirt out of me, this filth. You know, I always felt filthy. So undoing that was actually what took me to, you know, I know you wanted to get into the chakra thing, was what
it's all right.
Was what took me into what I call Luciferian contracts and overlays and energies. Because essentially what I was doing with my therapist while I was doing all of this was pulling off a lot of false constructs.
Right.
Yeah.
So those false contracts can be, well, anything. Well, the one that you're focusing on is the chakras, but it's other things as well, right?
Absolutely. You know, if I go forward a little bit more through the therapy, so I was finding these Luciferian distorted energy. Now, I began to really simplify my healings with people. I found that if I stay really present with spirit and I work with the pendulum, I can work with distorted energy and clear it. And wherever my intention goes, that's when the clearing happens. So with all of my training on clearing energy, I mean, I was a great chakra cleanser. I was working through all of the surrounding energy bodies, which is, of course, how I put myself back together. I was going within the body, the endocrine system, because hormones to create feelings. You know, I was through the chakras and I was clearing off entities. I knew about all sorts of crazy things, past life, ancestry healings, soul contracts, curses, black magic. I was clearing the lot, you know, with my pendulum, and I was doing it very, very fast. I became a ninja at my work. And also with the psychology that I was doing, and I studied emotional needs psychology, and then I've worked with the therapists. You know, when I work with people, you know, there's a whole bunch of skills going on, skill sets that I have from my own personal self-healing. So, you know, what was going on here, though, these were different. And, you know, I started to call them Luciferian contracts. And, you know, that's really how it happened. It happened, well, nothing happens accidentally, but to me it was accidental. I started asking to clear Luciferian contracts in other people.
Yeah.
And they were telling me they felt amazing afterwards. And it was very, very recently that I was blocked in something, and I just couldn't find what it was in me. And I just remembered that particular ritual, and I said Luciferian contracts, bang, I got it and I cleared it. And I had been looking for everything to unblock this block, you know, so I went through every sort of form of idea that it could be. And so these things to me are virtually invisible unless you're actually looking for them. You won't find them in someone's energy field. So
what sort of I mean, we mentioned the chakras, but what other sort of contracts are you talking about?
So I found 11. What I noticed was I worked on a few people, and there were 11 of these things, and they were huge. And, you know, I was clearing them. And I still had no idea quite what they were, but anything Luciferian. And obviously my clients, I had a succession of clients saying, there's things I still feel blocked, and can you look and see if there's anything else? And I said, I'm doing something new. Are you happy if I look for Luciferian contracts? And I had 3 people in a day, and what I noticed was I had 11 moves.
Right, we just got a bit cut off there. Just as we got into talking about Luciferian contracts, suddenly the call got cut off. So, which is a little bit strange, but there you go. So, if you just want to carry on talking about what you were talking about.
Where was I before it cut? Because I kind of talked a little bit. So I was into the 11 stages, right? And the 3 clients. So I messaged a friend of mine who is, you know, another energy healer that really works in this field. And, you know, we kind of hashed things backwards and forwards. He wasn't convinced that I'd found something at first. I think he was just skeptical because he's very focused on Cameron Day's work, which I happen to love. I recommend, you know, anyone wants to look at that, about false lights, false constraints, false light beings, and all of this. Cameron Day goes into it very, very well. So anyone wants to explore him.
Just on that, I think, just to sort of interject there, that I think it's really an important point. Just briefly going back to the New Age, there's so many people giving their energy out away to light beings, Galactic Federation of Light, Pleiadians, and all of this, and I think these entities are very devious, aren't they? They're very manipulative, and they play on all this. They know that people are going to find all that sort of stuff attractive, and I think people, that if anyone's into all that, they need to be very aware of, you know, how far this goes and how deep the manipulation is.
So they masquerade as light beings, but what they're doing essentially is sucking energy. So they can be rotten, nasty, scary things, but they can also be appear as very loving things. Now for me, my abilities were that my intention always was anything that is not connected to source energy gets cleared. So I bypassed what you would call false light beings, because if they're not connected to source, I remove them. Doesn't matter what they feel like. But
Makes complete sense.
Yeah, and I don't see them, you see. I don't see them, and I feel them. I'm an empath and what's called a claircognizant, a knower. So I feel them, and it doesn't matter how much love they're giving out, they're rotten to the core, and that's what I feel. You know, So maybe with my experience and having these things going on all of my life, you know, and having this intention that I'm only connected with source, I'm not interested in anything outside of me. I did have an angel thing for a while, and I can honestly say actually that that's how it all began. And that whatever I was connected with, I also, the good thing about theta was because I was connecting within and not without. Like when I did work with anything, I was saying anything that's connected with source energy. So I was working with other energies at one point. But I was very, you know, with the intention that they're connected with source energy, because I do believe that if we've got all these nasty things out there, we have got ones that are taking care of us as well, that want this world to transcend. It's just I have a lot of doubts about most that I hear about. And I don't want to be a channel of so-and-so or something. Although, you know, I'm careful with what I just don't really look into it anymore. I don't pay much attention to it. So, you know, I don't really have an argument with people, although I do have a skepticism of a lot of them.
Sure.
You know? So, yeah, with Cameron Day, he really goes into that very deeply. And so the person that I was talking to is very connected with his work and just happens to say, look, if you're actually removing what you call it, because I'm saying it's like being unplugged from the matrix, he said, you'll know that the chakra system is false. Mm-hmm. And so I checked myself and I don't have any chakras.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's funny, when I first heard about the chakras and the first time I heard that they're like a manipulation, it just went straight in my mind, the word plug and the image of the matrix where they are literally plugged in. You know, they're all sitting in those incubators and they're plugged in, and in my head I said, they're plugs. And it just immediately felt right from the moment I saw it.
This is what I was doing felt like. And with this information that he had given me, he then enabled me to really begin to go into exactly what was going on. So from there, I just worked with, you know, like I said, for me, the pendulum never lies with energy, but I'm also very intuitive, so I feel it at the same time as the pendulum moves. It's just more like a tool.
Sure.
And I was able to say, okay, what was the first one? Outside the body, inside the body, which part? And I began to get the information. So the stage one was the soul net. And, you know, I don't know how much you've looked into this. It makes perfect sense to me, because I know I wouldn't want to bloody come down here over and over again.
No, me neither.
That people are passing and they go up to a false light.
Sure.
And then they get harvested and sent back down again. For me, and this is, you know, going into all the crazy stuff, but for me, this is a soul harvesting planet.
Yeah.
And animals too. It's not just humans. I've worked on my cats.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, they have 2. We have 11.
Right.
And of course, you know, when I say 11, it's 11 I've found. This is a rabbit hole. This can expand. It can go in other directions. So what I have found is 11.
Right.
You know, and there's plenty of other people working around this as well. And you know, and the actual chakra stuff has been, you know, I've been searching on it in Google. I'd only just heard of it, but it's been around for 3 years.
Yeah.
So there's peeps that have been doing this for a while.
Sure.
But for me, what I found was the first one was the soul, the false light in the soul. Above it, I found like three archons, nasty things. And then, you know, and I always argued about this as well. Why would we come down to Earth with our memories wiped? What's the point of that? I mean, we're just going to be repeating the same karma, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a spiritual answer for it that goes back God knows how long, and New Age has taken it. But it never made sense to me, because if we're beings that are going to evolve and become conscious, why are things hidden from us? So what the next one I found was something that they're able to wipe our memories with.
Right.
Okay, so then I found one on the auric field. Okay, because our auric field is, our emotions are in our auric field, so that also included a couple of other emotional bodies without going into lots of detail. But negative emotions and even sexual emotions, all sorts of emotions, feed. Okay, these we you know, the emphasis is that the 4th dimensional realm are living off our energy. They're not connected to source. They need our energy to exist. They are disconnected, and they want us to stay unconscious. And people that are doing these rituals, like the Freemasons, they are evoking tougher and tougher and bigger entities, archons. You know, they're all different, but I'm not going to go into all the different ones. What they're doing is they're evoking these with every single ritual until they get to the 33 degrees, and they've got like a huge one that's more or less taken them over.
Right. Why do they want to do this, though? I mean, they're just born psychopathic, or
fucktards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it goes from generation to generation, and you're born into it. But
In a way, I think both of that's true. I mean, obviously there's been born into it in generations, which I wonder if that's coming along my blood lineage for me.
Yeah.
Along my dad's side. So there is this generation thing, but also there are just people that want power and money that think it's fun to mess around with black magic.
Yeah,
Let's face it, you know.
But to, you know, murder animals and babies, and you know, there's wanting power and taking it a little bit too far, you know.
Well, it's definitely a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Well, also you see what they're doing is when you do black magic, you're evoking these things, and these things are putting you in an altered state. They're merging with you. So that's a very dark power. I mean, you know, people get power by serving these energies. Which is what we're seeing right now, why there's a lot of people at the top that are doing this. They get power. I mean, there's stuff with Angelina Jolie, you know, talking about satanic rituals. I mean, like, there's all sorts of people doing this. They get fame, they get money. I mean, they're too stupid to see beyond this lifetime.
Sure.
And, you know, what they've really done is they've signed themselves up. You know, they've really signed up with the devil.
Sold their souls, haven't they? There's a picture a few years that came out of Beyonce doing she was performing somewhere, I can't remember, but you might have seen it, but I looked at it and she looked like she had a demon in her. And she she talks about this other personality. She actually gives it a name.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that it's all related to that. So. Well,
it's possible that, you know, I think Kanye West recently went into a mental hospital talking about all sorts of crazy stuff. You know, a few of them have had breakdowns. If you look at Miley Cyrus wearing all the baby stuff and doing all the sexual stuff, you know, these guys, for me, they're mind controlled. They're ritual kids, you know, and they are, you know, and those personalities when they take over are pretty powerful. Yeah. Okay. Because there's not the strength. It's like you're protecting what is left of you. There's not the power to, you know, it takes a lot of work to come back from that, a lot of healing. Yeah. And, you know, everyone around you is going to call you a liar unless you're around people that really kind of, you know, I like I said, I had to come to Thailand to do this. And it took me years to find, you know, a therapist that understood this. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing. So going into the overlays, you know, they're all the way throughout the system. You know, you've got the two in the soul. You come into the auric field. Then there's 2 in the astral field. There's astral body, astral field. And then you go beyond that. There's the nervous system, the pulmonary system, the pineal gland sort of system. And then if I remember going further, it's hard to remember them all without looking at them all, but there's 11 of them. The right brain. I mean, what all of these things are there for is to keep you disconnected from your true self. Sure. And there's programs in them on programs that keep you stuck in patterns that you feel that you cannot break, because it really is like the movie The Matrix. I mean, when you start to clear this stuff, your life changes. And it doesn't change like a magic wand. It's more connection, it's more clarity, it's more focus. You still have crap and stuff to deal with.
I just on that, I mean, as soon as I found out about it, resonated straight away, and we decided you did some healing on me, and when you took my chakras away, I just remember, during whatever it was you were doing, there was a lot of I mean, I'm a Reiki healer as well, and you'll know yourself, sometimes when you do Reiki, you feel like little twinges and things going on in your body, like energy releases. And this was all going on. I was very relaxed. I was just laying there and just felt such calmness and peace. And just I remember messaging you the next day. I don't know what you've done, but because last year I was just exactly what you said. I felt I was in a hole, and I'm a pretty determined character, you know. I don't, if I'm feeling down, I'll try and drag myself out of it, but I just could not seem to. It was like a cloud hanging over me all the time, and I had this chakra removal and these contracts, and since then it's just been the same. I just feel a lot more calm, a lot more at ease with my own self. Like you say, I have my off days, but in general, and this cloud has kind of lifted. So I mean, I would never tell anyone what to do with that, but from my point of view, as having had it done myself, I've only seen the benefits, and it felt right from the moment I heard about it. So, but just want to clarify something, because some people aren't sure. We still have, even though you have your overlay chakras, we still have, is it 3 original chakras still?
Yeah, this is I find this interesting because this is what I have yet to explore. With Cameron Day, there's 3. Yes, it's also what's called a unification, which I've read about. So there is a big one where the heart is.
Yeah,
a huge sense. One.
You can feel that, can't you? Even if you just focus on it.
Yeah, but what I've also found, and I'm still working with this, is I found not where the crown chakra is or the base, but the other ones where they were, I found smaller energy points either side, in the masculine side and the feminine side, which I found fascinating. But for me, you see, I'm very frustrating for left brain people, really frustrated. Like they just, I drive them crazy.
You're not going to go down with the Daily Mail readers very well, Abby.
Absolutely not, because I find everything out by intuition first, and I haven't got a clue what it is.
Yeah.
and then the information comes to me.
Sure.
And then I go, wow, it always happened that way, always for me. A bit like when I went to Thailand, but I didn't know why. I went to Australia, I didn't know why. Everything unfolds to me after I've followed my intuition. So I'm still on what's happening with our energy within. And I do say that Cameron Day is someone to really look at, because he's been doing this for a while. He's really, he knows this stuff.
Yeah. And,
he's very well recommended. So, I'm about to jump into it to him a lot deeper. Because of what I've found. You see, my whole intention really has been about, going after these interdimensionals and changing what they're up to.
Sure.
So that's how I came across my information. But there's a few different people out there. Steve Richards has his version of things, and everyone's interconnected. We're all exploring and finding things out, but we're all in slightly different avenues of it.
Yeah, it's exciting time to be alive. I know it's a lot of darkness, and I get very frustrated myself a lot. But at the same time, some of the stuff that's being uncovered is just absolutely mind blowing. I mean, it's such an interesting time to be alive right now, and in many ways, I just want to soak it up as well. Although sometimes I don't feel like I want to be here, but it's really good to embrace all this as well.
Yes, I have those moments also. I mean, when I found this what I called the new stuff at first, Matrix unplugging, I was elated. I was like, oh my God, because it takes my field of what I'm doing further.
Sure.
And, I'm always exploring, I'm always going deeper and further. And, for me, my purpose, for me and for the people that are around me that want to go down that rabbit hole, it's, when I work on people, I'm working on empowerment for them, empowerment for self.
Well, it all starts with self, doesn't it? We can't change the world unless we change ourselves, and it's almost like a twofold, isn't it? I find within truth circles, or whatever you want to call it, there is a lot of people that want to keep, or David Icke calls it, keep shouting at the movie screen without going to the projector behind, and that includes our ourselves, healing ourselves, but also changing our behaviour in line with truth, and treating everything with respect and care, because that's the other reason that we're in such a mess.
Yeah. It's such a world, regardless of whether anyone believes in what I'm talking about or not. This is a world of disconnecting people from their souls, numbing people out, keeping them stupid. I mean, you know, I think I said this in my live, you know, Facebook video I did, but my thing is clearing and dealing with these interdimensionals, because they seriously piss me off.
I love your attitude to it. I mean, I have so much respect for your attitude. It's like all this like horrific stuff happened to you, and you're like, do you know what? I'm gonna fucking get you. And I just think, and I think at some level, you know, these things, whatever they are, they're probably terrified of you, because look at the amount of shit they have put you through to keep you down and keep you silent, and you still came through it. You've still come through it. So, you know, they're probably running scared, I think, right now. And you know, you show no fear as well, and fear is a huge thing,
they've run out of options with me. You
Yeah.
know, they've tried everything. They've run out of options. They had a really good go. I mean, like, it started before the rituals. I was being haunted as a baby.
Yeah. Well, I heard
you
this.
know.
Sorry to interrupt, but I heard that another energy healer that I'm good friends with, she was telling me that, you know, they know about the souls that are coming in.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know what you think about it. And they even set up,
Totally.
there's this thing called love
Birth
bite relationships, where we even
okay.
have. I mean, I'm not saying this is 100% true. Where we have certain people maybe that are manipulated, that come into our paths, that try and bring us down and stop us from you know, going forward with what we're supposed to be doing. That's quite interesting to look at.
Totally. There's a lot of, you know, I just listen to everything now and go, yeah, that's possible, because you know what I learned with these things? Nothing is beyond them.
No.
Okay, imagine that you've got this elite, okay, they're years ahead of us in their manipulation. They are strategists. It's like games of chess, and they are master strategists. They don't have emotions. They're not connected to their souls. They're completely and utterly invested in power, money, greed, and, you know, whatever else goes on in their lives. And so when it comes to these energies, and having these energies on my body, and then all the clients I've worked with pulling these little shits off, you know, there's just nothing is beyond them. Nothing. You know, when I work with someone, you know, before I did it with the pendulum and got bored with the story and started returning them to source, I used one of the techniques I used in holographic kinetics was you would ask why they were on the body and what they were up to, and the stories they came out with. Nothing is beyond them. There are specific souls that are targeted, and the more you begin to evolve, the more they can target you.
Really? I thought it would be the other way around. I thought the more you evolve and clean up your act, I thought that they would have less power over you.
Well, they do have less power over you, but they'll send bigger ones in. Now, it doesn't mean that's everybody's story. I know people that are very evolved that do not have a story like mine. But in my case, this happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you've had the shit thrown at you. You've had the kitchen sink thrown at you, haven't you?
Yeah. And somehow this is the theme of my life. I mean, you know, made me laugh, the meme you posted yesterday about dancing with the devil, because that's probably going to be the name of my book.
Yeah. There you go.
So, yeah, I also know a lot of people that don't deal with these things, and they've got, you know, they're like parasites on our energy field. They're like fleas on a cat. People have them, they don't even know it, because they've just had them their entire life. And when they get these things removed, you know, they feel a difference. And like you said, it's peaceful, it's calm, it's clearer, it's more focused, because we don't address this side of things.
Sure.
It's that simple. But they're horrible. Yeah, they're vile. Nasty, devious, manipulative, horrible little parasites.
Yeah, exactly. But just to clarify, when someone has their chakra overlays removed, these negative entities can no longer attach themselves, or they can still, but not as much.
Okay, so it definitely strengthens you up. It connects you to your true self. It removes a lot of them. And, you know, when I work with people, I remove all the others as well. I always find them in people's nervous systems. It's like a nesting place.
Well, look at the world we live in. I mean, it's no wonder most of us are a bag of nerves. I mean, what a horrible place, really, in many ways.
Well, we thrive on stress. We've been brought up on stress, you know, alarm clocks and 12-hour days and all of that crap. I mean, you know, and debt, you know, we're built to be stressed, you know, we're programmed with stress. So when these overlays are removed, for me, you could still end up with something on you. They've got so much less opportunities to feed from you. The chakra systems for me is a way for them to drain as well. Every overlay is a way for them to somehow clear or take energy. But also you can still have, you see, you know, we're multifaceted. So I work with a lot of people, and I start looking at past lives, and there've been wizards and witches in their past lives and murdered people.
I'd really want to do that, Abby. Actually, I've never done that before, so maybe we can sort that out at some point. But, yeah, that's a different form of contracts. There's so much. I mean, in the last, if I've been away for 11 years and maybe 9 years, the memories came back. So that's how long I've been working with energy and exploring energy. So I found, you know, a lot of things in people in that time, and nothing surprises me. You can have ancestry stuff as well. So, you know, what I do when I work on someone is I think that overlays is probably the best gift to offer anyone, for me, on how I feel afterwards. But yeah, there's still stuff. And also, you know, I say to people, if you've got emotional trauma, then do what I did. You know, I'm always recommending my therapist to people, because, you know, there's different parts of us that need help. Yeah. And a lot of people just run after spiritual healing, and they wonder why they've still got, you know, I was exactly the same, why they've still got like post-traumatic stress disorder, because there's a core that, you know, most people avoid working on the inner child. Yeah. That's the one everyone's scared of, and it's the worst, it's the most painful. But the more you clear that, because trauma also leaves holes or pockets of negative emotions that these energies can attach themselves to. So that's also that. I also want to bring in for people, though, because I don't want to leave them all in this whole kind of fear situation, that, you know, I have worked on people that don't have any entities on them, very few, but I have done very beautiful, clear, strong beings. They're actually quite young as well. You know, that so there was someone that wrote recently, but if you're in a good frame of mind and you're conscious and you're present, then, you know, this negative energy can't get on you. There are people that do that. There are different ways. You know, for me personally, I feel that people that do not have these things on them are very, very rare. However, you know, we all have different techniques, and I do want to say that as well. I don't want people thinking that my way is the only way and I'm like dictating or anything like that. You know, this is just what I've found and what works for me and my clients. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Such an interesting story. Your book is going to be amazing. It's going to be really, really interesting. I can't wait to read it, and I'm sure you're going to go into a lot more detail there. So, for people that are interested in this chakra removal, I mean, do you have a contact, or is it what? How are you doing this at the moment? Because at the same time, you don't want to be flooded with a load of people as well.
Well, I've got my website, and I haven't put this on the website yet because I have an ebook that offers what the service is and what to expect from an energy healing. And, you know, I don't really want to offer chakra cleansing anymore. But, you know, some people are very protective over their chakras. So, you know, I'm still mediating with myself how I want to do this. So I do have a PDF, which is the 11 steps, which when people contact me through my website, I send to them. And, you know, I'm about to update my website. Like I said, I'm just figuring out how to do this because I also have to change a whole bunch of stuff because, you know. It's like the cosmic joke, you know.
More kitchen sinks, right?
Yeah, I have to. You know, I made an online course that took me nearly a year, and now I have to stop doing that because I have to teach people how to use a pendulum without cleansing chakras.
Yeah, thanks universe. Thanks universe.
Yeah.
So what is your website? People can contact you on?
It's abigailsinsights.com.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, and also obviously I'm on Facebook. Everyone knows that anyway. They've got a whole truth tribe there. So
yeah. Well, I just want to again really just say thank you so much for doing this, and I really enjoyed it, and I learnt a lot, and I'm sure the listeners learnt a lot, and I'm just so pleased that you seem to be on the right path and healing and sounding very happy, and long may it continue, because you're a really brave and inspirational woman.
Thank you so much. It's you know, I wanted to be happy. I'm learning how to do that now.
We're going to get these fuckers. You know, that's what we said the other day. We're going to get them.
Yeah, I just want to expose them and then just find a way that they start losing their power, you know, and that's my whole thing. Little bastards.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we'll leave it there, and
yes.
Yeah, thank you again, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yes, take care, and thank you for everything.
No problem.
All the support. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.